Okay, so I am a moth biologist. I like to call myself that because I am interested in the taxonomy, the diversity, and as well as the evolutionary ecology of moths. So currently, I am finishing a remote postdoc in the Finnish Natural History Museum in Helsinki. So I was a visiting researcher there last year, and now I'm doing this work remotely because I've already done the work there, and now I'm writing up, analyzing, and all of those things. But the work is
Okay.
basically using museum specimens to answer evolutionary questions, like macroecology evolutionary questions. Um, yeah, and what else? So I'm interested in prey predator interactions also, which was my previous postdoc in IISc, which was in the Center for Ecological Sciences. So what I was interested in is that moths, being such a diverse group of insects, uh, and they are predated upon by bats, their most formidable predator. How do bats choose the species? Because you have hundreds of species in front of you, and how does a bat choose its prey? So that was something that I was interested in, and I studied that in the Western Ghats. It was near Kudremukh National Park. So yeah, so that's about my like research part. Apart from that, I really enjoy science communication. I do it in my individual capacity as much as I can. I write popular articles about my work, and that has helped me to reach out to people like regarding my research, and they have come back to me asking questions, and I have gotten a chance to interact with many young people, which is the aim. Like, I want to be accessible to the younger generation, and and also I am the country coordinator for National Moth Week, which is a global citizen science program, which happens every year in the month of July. So it is coming up for this year. So yeah, so that's something we are planning, that what we can do this year. It's a 1 week program where people document moths and upload on citizen science portals. And yeah, that's about it. And now it's
Yeah.
your turn to ask me questions.
Yeah, sure. And I have some of them. So before I ask other question, as you just mentioned about bats choosing moth as their prey, I was very much curious. So do they target any particular moth? They are species specific, or they just hunt down any sorts of moth which is nearby and available to them?
Yes, so that is the exact question that I was trying to answer, and I recently published this paper on this very specific questions, as in that like, so if we are choosing food, like there's a buffet going on, and we get to choose what we eat. We choose based on taste, and or for animals, like a non-human animals, they choose it mostly for the energy gain. So, like, how much energy will I get by eating a moth? So if I'm a bat and I'm making an effort by flying, echolocating, and locating my prey, I might as well get a lot of benefit from the prey. So that's why, as a bat, they choose the bigger moths. I mean, they don't go for the smaller moths, because moths, like, they vary in size from very small moths to the larger, like the Luna moth or the Atlas moth, and the bats eat mostly the bigger ones. And also, what I found from my work is that the ones which are not very easily escaping predation. So everything is happening above our heads in the night sky, and we cannot see them. So the bats are flying, the moths are flying, and they're so the moths are trying to escape bats, and they have certain flight strategies to escape uh, moth, escape bats. So the ones that are able to escape better, they survive more. So the bats target the bigger moths as well as the ones which are bad at escaping. So that's the summary of what I did and what I found.
Okay. And as you just told about how they catch, and you just mentioned they fly in the night sky. I just have this curiosity: how you do your research then? It's all dark
Yes,
out there.
yes.
Then how you
So
track? Yeah.
yes. So that's not what I'm doing. I'm not live tracking them. But what I am doing is so this particular species of bat that I studied is called the lesser false vampire bat. And what they do is a very interesting species of bat is that they roost in abandoned houses in villages. So that's
Okay.
where so we were studying in a village where around 20 roosts were there of this particular bat, the Megaderma spasma, it's called, this is a scientific name, commonly known as the lesser false vampire bat. So we went into the roost and found a lot of wing remains. So what they would do is that they would eat the body of the moth but leave out the wings, and
Okay.
uh, and that is something which is a part of the ecology of the bat, is that they go out, they hunt, and they bring back the prey to the roost and eat it there, and they leave the wings on the floor of the roost. So from the wing remains we could comfortably arrive at different families of moths, and if not species. Many of them,
Okay.
but just by looking at the wing patterns, we could arrive at the species, like what species it is eating. So that's how
Okay.
we did. So we have 3 years of data from these roosts, where the wing remains were collected from the roosts and they were sorted into species, into families, and that gave us a robust estimation of what species are getting eaten. And then I went and did the light trapping in and around the roost in the foraging area of the bat, and found out what are the species that are present in the field. Like what is the platter forming, and what they are choosing is inside the roost. So that's how
Okay.
we could conclude that okay, these are the species that are available in the field, and these are the ones that this bat is choosing, and on what basis is this selection happening. So that is something that we try to answer.
Oh, such an interesting, methodology, I would say.
Yeah,
And I think it has already got published, right? So
yeah,
I'll definitely go and have a read.
sure,
Okay.
sure.
And coming about, you mentioned about a family. So your PhD, you worked on a specific family, right?
Yes,
I forgot the name of that.
geometry.
Geometrid.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
So you selected that on purpose, or because there was a knowledge gap in that particular family?
yes. So there are a lot of things into the selection of this family. First of all, it is one of the most diverse families of moths. So it's the second largest moth family, and I when I started my work, I was working in the Western Himalayas. I worked in the Nanda Devi National Park and in Kedarnath Wildlife Sanctuary. And both of these are Western Himalayan protected areas. So these geometric moths are more abundant in mountain conditions, like in the mountains. This family of moths are more abundant, and they are tied to the forests. For example, if you look at the diversity of moths in a forest versus a degraded forest, you will find more geometric moths in the forests. So that was why I selected these moths, because they are good indicators. So if there is a change in habitat, like from pristine to degraded, you will see a change in composition of the moth community. So that is why I chose this family, because this was abundant. It was in the mountains, and I could compare a pristine habitat with a degraded habitat there, and yeah, which is why I chose this particular family of moths.
Okay. And yesterday I was just reading about moths and butterflies, so I came to know what's the actually key difference. But I'm definitely sure that so many will be out there who might not be even knowing the difference between these two.
Yeah.
So I'll start my question with one thing, that you studied butterfly during your bachelor's. So what
Yes, I
prompted
did.
you to go shift to the moths, and what's the key difference between butterfly and moth? As you say, butterflies are actually moths. So please put some light. Why you shifted from butterfly to moth, and what's the key difference in these two species?
Okay. Okay, so butterflies, yes, I started with butterflies as like most people do because they are more visible and they are
Right.
colorful. I was a kid in the bachelor's and I saw them around me and I thought this is something that I should study. I did a very small project on butterflies, but when I started reading about moths, it gave me a whole lot of opportunity because they were understudied, they are nocturnal, and they are
Mm-hmm.
6 times more diverse than butterflies. So you give me a reason for not studying moths, like after knowing this. So there is a lot of opportunity to do research
Yes.
for moths.
Yes.
If there is so many species and understudied, I mean, you can comfortably make a career out of studying moths. That's what I did. So you know, so I mean,
Yeah.
they're much more intriguing to me because not many people are studying them. So there leaves a lot of knowledge gap because they're less visible, nocturnal. They're not. They are colorful. I would never say that they are not colorful. It's just that because of their what is the behavior of being flying at night,
Mm-hmm.
they are not visible like birds and butterflies. So they attract less attention. So they are the what do you say understudied cousins of butterflies. So they are much more interesting for me in that respect. And differences. Okay. You tell me, you read about butterflies and moths yesterday. What differences did you find? You tell me and I'll
Yeah,
add to that.
yeah, I just got to know why, when they are resting. So butterflies close their flesh, and the moths won't, and they don't do. And usually moths, I think butterfly, like initially there were moths, then due to natural selection, uh, butterflies, were restricted more to the daytime because of the availability of open flower. I think that's all I could make out the difference between these two.
You're right. You're right. I mean, evolutionarily, butterflies are just day-flying moths. Moths have come to this earth way before the butterflies did, and butterflies evolved with the flowering plants because as the flowering plants started evolving, the butterflies also diversified from the moths, and they started evolving into this day-flying clade. So yes, so that's evolution for you. And other other thing that you said, yes, when moths are resting, they usually sit with their wings like visible, they are flat, while butterflies at rest, they fold their wings. And also the main difference is in their antenna. So the butterfly antenna, it has tiny ball-like structure at the end. It's like a stick and a ball at the end. But the moths, they have antennae like brush-like, comb-like. Sometimes they're just straight, like straight filaments. So there's a lot of variation in the structure of the antenna as well. And other things are there which are much more taxonomic, so I won't go into there. But these are like some of the starters to distinguish between moths and butterflies.
Yeah, I myself am a taxonomist, though in a completely different field in crabs. But I do understand it does get boring when it comes to the, character. This is that
Taxonomically.
broad. And one just like common observation I have seen, their body is comparatively more sturdier. Moths, is it
Mm,
true? Just
sturdier. No,
to
I
like,
won't say. No, they are more scaly. So, okay, so both butterflies and moths belong to this order called Lepidoptera, which means comes from the Latin word, two Latin words, lepidos and terra. Lepidos is
okay,
scales and terra is wings. So the
okay,
wings have scales on them. I mean, the colors that you see on butterflies are not pigments; they are scales. So the light reflects of them in certain angles and give them the colors. So
okay,
that's what happens. So moths have more scales on their body. So they
okay,
are much more what do you say? Much more softer. Butterflies are sturdier because they have less scales on their entire body. Moths are more scaly.
Okay.
But why does that happen? I'm not entirely sure. But
Okay.
that's a common difference between butterflies and moths.
Maybe they are in the daytime. They need to face more sunlight. Just guessing.
Probably. I've
And
not come across the reason anywhere, but yeah, probably could be. I'm not sure.
yeah, and your area of research is more about collecting data in night times in forests. So I was thinking what all difficulties you face while you go for sampling. For example, you have worked in some very pristine places like Western Himalayas and even Western Ghats. So how was your experience and the difficulties you face while
Hmm.
sampling?
There are like physical difficulties. I would say that it gets very, very cold at night in the mountains. It is not sometimes physically possible to stand and sample moths. So, so, so many of the times I would just keep the light trap on and go back to my tent and come out in the morning. But I did not find that to be a very sustainable method. So I would stand there for 5 hours in the field, collect moths, count moths, and document them. But physically, that was very challenging, especially in the mountains. In the Western Ghats, it was not that. I mean, the cold factor was not there, but uh, yeah, and also other thing in the Western Himalayas was the area has a lot of had a lot of leopards and bears. So I had to be I had to be surrounded by at least 2 3 people, so I could not go out in the forest at night alone. Uh, and
Okay.
also there are like other difficulties. I don't know if I should say put that angle here, but I'll just, since we are talking about this, I should mention it, that being a girl is also not that easy working at night.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I mean those are not physical difficulties. They are like other like social difficulties that are there. So like I was staying in remote villages when I was working in the Western Himalayas, and I would often get uh, to answer this question, that why being a girl I'm going into the forest at night. So those are like some other mental difficulties, like that you need to counter, that you have to justify why only men are allowed in the forest at night, and all these things are there. But I mean, it is challenging, but it's rewarding as well. I mean, what you get in the field is, I mean, I'm fascinated by every new moth species that I see. So it makes me forget the cold, the wind, and all the other difficulties. And
Yes.
yeah, and what else? I mean, it's the night forest is a different place to be. I mean, you don't see things very easily. You have to rely on your sense of sound and your sense of smell, because it's just dark all around. You are there just with your light trap, and you get to see amazing wildlife. Like sometimes I will see a flying squirrel. Sometimes, yeah, I also encountered a leopard and a bear and all of those
Oh,
things. So it's also it's also fun. So in that way.
yeah. Yeah, actually, to those whoever I talked previously, and when I mentioned about the being women in science, so it comes with certain challenges,
Yes,
which I think we can't be in denial and not like mentioning them. So it's
yes.
better to tell them, and we should try to make that situation better instead of being denial. I think someone has mentioned you have got a message, a question. How do you collect moths? Obviously, you want them live. What's the sampling methodology? So maybe you can answer this one, and then we will.
Yeah. No, I don't want them live. I want them dead for my study. So because I had to collect specimens for my
Such
study.
a such a
So
such a taxonomist answer.
yeah, only a taxonomist would understand the value of specimens. So I'm in the right
Yeah.
place talking about specimens. So yes, I usually use this method of light trapping. which is the most adaptable method of sampling moths, because they are nocturnal and they are attracted to light. So what I do is just put out a white sheet of cloth with specific lights that I use, because so the light that I use is a combination of different wavelengths of light, because different species are attracted to different wavelengths of light. So to attract maximum diversity, I use this special kind of light, and that's about it. And then I count the species, and if there's something that I'm interested in, I collect them for further taxonomy or morphometrics and other things. So yes, I don't always want them live. If I want them live, I cannot go into the forest and collect them. So there has to be a lab culture or something for which I can use them for experiments. So that's a different part of. But in the field,
Then,
you just do light traffic.
and how you culture a moth? Like this is might be
Yeah.
my
So
ignorance. First time
yeah,
culturing moth in lab.
culturing. Sorry, I'm using the wrong term. It's just rearing. You rear
Vacuum.
moths. Yeah. So culture meaning is that you maintain generations of same species.
Okay.
So I was also doing some experiments at NCBS, National Center for Biological Sciences in Bangalore, where the study was lab. It was restricted to the lab, so I had to do some experiments with live moths. So for that reason, to keep them healthy and fresh for the experiments, so we had a separate section where we used to rear them, and when they emerged, we used them for our experiments. And then we used to breed them further, and so that the generations continue. So that's a different part. So that's not field work at all. That's when you do things in the lab, you do experiments. You need light moth. So that's a different
Okay.
part.
And yeah, another question I would ask that very less people are aware about the importance of moths, and you have mentioned in some of your interviews how they have been seen negatively. Like you have mentioned somewhere the silence of lamb.
Yes.
After reading your that, only I went and checked the poster,
Poster.
and
Yes.
definitely there was a moth.
Hmm.
So how you see the importance of moths in ecology and environment?
How do I see, or how do I want people to see? I mean, those are
Actually,
different.
yeah, actually, yeah,
Yes.
actual importance of, yeah.
Yes. I mean, like right at the beginning, I said that since they are nocturnal, they have received less
Mm,
attention, and also in general, it's not only nocturnal. Other nocturnal taxa also get attention, but these are insects, and so they relatively receive less attention than other taxa, and but ecologically, they are as important as a butterfly. They are important pollinators. So the night blooming flowers are all pollinated by moths or bats. So bats are also good pollinators of night blooming flowers. Mainly moths pollinate the night blooming flowers. They are also, as I mentioned, the geometrid moths. They are very good ecological indicators. They are indicators of forest ecosystems, and they are also part of the food chain. So as a part of my study, as I said, that they are prey for bats, so the bats survival depend on moths. So they're a very important part of the food chain as well. I mean, I can go on about how ecologically important they are, but the thing is, like, that's why I do the science communication, to make uh, the importance of moths more visible or more apparent to people who don't know them much. So that's the effort that we have to put in extra. Like, people are aware about birds, about butterflies, about tigers, elephants, and all of those things. But when you're studying a lesser known taxa, you have to put in that extra effort in popularizing them. And I mean, my main aim is to make others as fascinated as I am with moths. So that's the thing. I mean, Have I
And
answered your question properly? I don't know.
yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
And okay, before I ask the next one, someone has put in a message. You can just read and answer if you wish to.
Okay.
I just started my PhD
Um.
study.
Okay. Yeah. I'm finding difficulties in identifying micromoths. What are the best methods and resources for accurately identifying micromoths? Yes. Very good question. Micromoths. I don't like them. They are very difficult to identify. I mean, they are. I mean, I'm scared of micromoths because I don't study them particularly, but there are people I know who are into their taxonomy. So if you, I don't know who is, I cannot make out your name from the question, but if you get in touch with me, I can put you in touch with the people who I know who are studying micromoths, and they can definitely help you. They are very good taxonomists who are studying micromoths, so they are very good at identifying them as well. So I can put you in touch with them.
Oh, so problem solved. Just message Pritha and she will get you in touch with the resource person.
Yes, definitely.
And yeah, I definitely agree. Sometimes some groups are a bit difficult to identify.
Mm,
And coming to the identification, you have described a new species named after Joshimat, if
yes,
I'm not wrong. So
yes,
how
yes.
was that
Mm.
experience?
Ah, oh my God. It was very, what do you say, very serendipitous. I didn't know it was a new species. I collected it, and as I was doing a part of my work in Germany, where I
Mhm.
was doing some DNA work as well and detailed taxonomy. That's when you're welcome. He said, thank you, sir. Welcome. Yeah, please do message me. I'll give you my email ID. You can email me, and then I'll put you in touch. So yeah, continuing with my answer. So yeah, so then I understood that it's a possible new species, and then a lot of collaborations with like other museum where they have the specimens for this species, and we found out that it's a new species for India. It was, and what's fascinating about this species is that I found them in Joshimath, and you
Okay.
must have read about Joshimath in recent news. So
Yes.
it's one of the most vulnerable places in the Western Ghats. So I found it in a forest patch near my base camp. Like I had a field station, and near to it, it was a pine. As it was, there was a coniferous forest where I found most of the specimens, and it's right in the middle of this city, which is there is a hydroelectric power project going on, and it's the main place from where people go into what do you say? You know, the Char Dham Yatra. So
Yes.
for, I mean, it's a pilgrim place as well. Like all the pilgrims, they come into Joshimath in summer, and then they go off to Badrinath shrine. So it's a very disturbed area with a pristine patch of forest, and which is where I found this new species. So that, I mean, that made it more interesting because mm, I mean, even in such a disturbed area, if there's a patch of forest, I mean, those are harbors of interesting fauna, interesting biodiversity, which we might not even know yet. And so, and it remains unexplored. So
Yeah.
that was something that was more interesting than finding a new species, is that it is found in a place like this. So
Yeah.
I am very happy to be contributing to this new species to the faunal database of moths in India, and how interesting it is. So yeah.
Yeah. And Joshimath, I think it's been in the news of like being fragile environment for the species
Yes,
there.
yes.
And
I
I
mean,
remember a quote
landslides
from
are
some,
happening. Yeah.
yeah, landslides are happening there. So I was reading one thing which says we have, when it comes to taxonomy and describing a species, we have a race against time.
Exactly.
We need to discover them before they are lost from this world.
Yeah, exactly. And
So
I mean,
taxonomists
I
do.
mean,
Yeah.
Exactly. Taxonomy is that important. I mean, it's a very crucial field for like especially people who are working in lesser known taxa. I have huge respect for them. I started off with taxonomy and I moved more into the ecology part of it because I'm more inclined towards the ecological part. But the taxonomic grounding that I have for moths makes me ask uh, more relevant ecological questions. So you cannot do ecology without taxonomy. I have huge respect for taxonomists.
And another question, it was just popping up. What are the key difference between two species of these moths? If one has to identify, you can be technical for a while. Ki, these are the key character actually which differs from one species to other. Their body, wings, color, pattern.
Yes. So first is the shape of the wing and
Okay.
how they rest. So there is so different families of like species from different families of moth have typical resting posture. So that's
Oh,
something. Yeah. So if you're familiar with the resting posture, it's like you have the first clue of what family this might be. Again, I'm not talking
okay.
about micromoths. I'm only talking about the larger ones. Micromoths are a different league, and I have huge respect for you who's doing a PhD on micromoths. It's a different thing. But for the larger moths, different families have a different way of resting, which is a giveaway.
Mhm.
And then the wing shape and
Okay.
the wing color patterns. Like wing patterns give you the first clues about I mean, what species it is. So it comes with a lot of experience and comes with a lot of like experience in observing them, not experience otherwise. Like in observing moths, you'll see that, for example, the geometric moths. So when they are at rest, you can see both the pair of their forewings and the hind wings. But when a
Oh,
noctuid moths, when a noctuid species it would sit in a triangle position. So it would cover its hind wing with the forewing and sit in a triangle position. I mean, they don't fold it like the butterflies. They don't put it up. It's still on the wall, but they sit in a particular way. And for
okay.
example, another one, what do I say? Like the crambidy moths. So they are
Okay.
very small moths. They are called the grass moths commonly. So when they sit,
Okay.
they flip their antenna back. So it's like
Oh,
the antenna is they have very long antennae and it flips
okay.
backwards when they sit. So these are
Okay.
certain clues which are the first giveaways that what family it could be, and then you go into the wing patterns, wing coloration,
Yeah.
and then if you're not if you're not able to do that, then you go into the genitalia, like you dissect them out, and if even if that is not enough, then you do DNA stuff. So it
Okay.
goes down, but there are certain giveaways right away.
Oh, nice. Sounds very interesting, at least more interesting than in crabs, maybe.
And yeah, sure,
Um,
that's
so,
very interesting too.
yeah, and there are some moths which are like butterfly moths, which are in
Hmm.
between.
Yes.
So,
So yes, as evolution works out, there's always something in between. So these are called butterfly moths. There's a particular genus which is also found in India. It's called Calyptra, and so when they sit like butterflies. So these are like the exception to the rule. So they have it is a very interesting group, and some few people study them also. And
okay,
there was a recent paper where they extracted their genome and stuff like what exactly, why are you calling them a moth and not a butterfly? So if you look at them, they look just like butterflies. But if you
okay,
go like in the taxonomic details, they are more moths than butterflies. So yeah, those are more like taxonomically challenging groups, but they are called butterfly moths. Yes.
okay. And throughout India, do we have like, is it like moths are more in south, less in north, or vice versa? Do we have hotspots of moth in
Yes.
India?
Yes, we do. Like the northeast of India is a absolute heaven for moths. You get so many
Oh.
species. I've not personally worked there. I would love to. Western Ghats is also very interesting. Um, but Northeast India, especially Arunachal Pradesh and that area, is uh, is very rich in biodiversity. And I studied in the Western Himalayas, which is like along the Himalayas. It's a more drier part. It
Okay.
receives less rainfall than the eastern part, so the species diversity is also less in the Western Himalayas. But again, when I came to Western Ghats, the diversity was entirely different, and there are certain species which are only found in this part of the country. So there are hotspots. So yeah.
Oh, there are definitely. And while you were doing this, your field surveys and all, any peculiar and particular story which happened during your field study? I'm sure must have been there. There are more than one.
Yeah, I mean
And
my
you like,
encounter. Uh, yeah,
yeah.
I mean first thing when I saw my first like in terms of experiences with moths, when I first saw my first Sri Lankan atlas moth in the Western Ghats, I have a photo with it sitting on me. So that was something like I just forgot what I was doing. I forgot my study. I forgot everything. It was raining and it just came and sat on me. It's a beautiful moth. So that's something. That's one moth related, and other one was when I saw other what do you say animals. Like I had an encounter with the bear, with the one in the Western Himalaya. So I was sampling, and I did not know how a bear sounds. Like bear calls, I was not familiar with. Um,
Uh-huh.
so yes, so my field assistant, he told me, please wrap up your work, we need to go back. And I did not understand why he was saying that. So I asked him, like, what happened? He's like, I asked him, what is that sound? It's like a crying woman. It's like
Oh,
a very sad woman crying in the forest. It's a very eerie sound. I did not know what that sound was. And he just told me, please wrap up your work, we need to leave. So we just wrapped it up and like left the field site. And later he told me that it was a bear, so it was not safe for you to be there. And
okay, okay.
another time I heard a flying squirrel, which is also a very scary sound. It's like a shrieking woman in the forest at night. It's with, I mean, I can imagine. I think you can imagine how scary it was. And my field
Yeah.
assistants, they thought it was a ghost or something, and they made me run out of the field site. And later, I spoke with my other friends, like, what is the sound that I heard? And they told me it's a flying squirrel. So all these bizarre things had happened during field, but memorable moth encounters were one with the Sri Lankan atlas moth, and the other was the first time when I had the Luna moth in my hand, in my trap, the Indian moon moth. It's a gorgeous moth. Yeah, so those are like memorable moth encounters, and yes.
Sounds quite fascinating and interesting to hear. I think you have got one question here, then we'll move forward. What are the more common species you find in urban areas?
Urban areas. Yes, very good question. So there are some of the noctuid moths and some tiger moth species are most found in the urban areas. Like mm, there's also one particular hawk moth species called the oleander hawk moth, which you find in urban areas because the host plant is oleander flower, which is a very common garden plant throughout the country. So wherever you find oleander plants, you see the oleander hawk moth. So it has become a very common species in urban areas. Among other noctuid moths is the lily moth, which is a very colorful, bright, like noctuid moths, and the host plant is other lily species that you have in your garden. So yeah, so your garden is also very important for the moths. Like many of the garden species of plants are important host plants for moths, which makes them more common in the urban areas. And many tiger moths are very common in urban areas, like the handmaiden moth is very common. In Bangalore, I you see the footman moth during the so during the monsoon season. So from next month, you will see this footman moth called the Nepeta convertus, bright orange colored moth. It's everywhere. You'll find them everywhere in Bangalore, in the urban areas. So there are these certain species which are common, and yeah.
And associated with this question, what is the conservation status of moths? Are they are threatened species, some of them, or what is
Mm.
the status in India
There
about
is,
moths?
I mean, moths are not protected in India. None of the species are protected. Maybe because they are data deficient as of now. But
Okay.
I mean, soon, uh, with increasing number of studies, increasing awareness, increasing knowledge, we might have conservation status for moths someday. But it's as of now, none of the species are protected.
Okay. And just out of curiosity, where they rest in the daytime? As you're telling, most of
Yes.
them are not.
Yes, you find them. So they're right there. You just can't see them. So it's they're like hidden in rock crevices or tree gaps, tree holes under the leaves of the plants. You'll find a lot of moths resting on the undersurface of the leaves, and they're also in grasses, in the resting on rocks or on logs of trees. They're just resting. They don't do anything. No, they'll just sit flat. So yeah,
And
they're right there. It's just they're not active.
and what's the actually lifespan of a moth?
So
How long they live?
yes, so that I mean, as diverse the moths are, diverse is are their life cycles. So, for example, the bigger ones like the Atlas moth or the Indian moon moth, they live only for a week or two. So in the adult stage, they so they emerge as adults, and they spend the entire adult life only looking for mates. They don't even have mouth parts to feed, and they die within a week or two. But other ones are more longer. I mean, the adult duration is longer, like maybe a month or two. So it varies from species to species. Not so it can be from a week to 2 months to 3 months. It depends. It is really variable.
And they increase in number during seasons like monsoon or
Yes.
non-monsoon.
Yes, so during the monsoon, moths are they breed a lot, so you'll find more moths species during the monsoon. But yes, and during the winters, they don't fly much except for the noctuid moths, which are very hardy species, so they can survive lower temperatures as well. But many of the moths do not are not very active during the winters also. But monsoon is the best time to see moths.
And I believe the project you are part of, the National Moth Week, that also is very nearby.
During the
It
monsoon,
happens.
yeah. Yes, so it's in
Yeah.
the July, last week of July. It happens every year. It usually rains a lot, which is a good thing for the moth you for you to see the moths. So it's a week-long thing. You can just turn on the light in your backyard and watch moths come in. You don't really have to go into the forest and do it like in a very proper way. Moths come right at your doorstep if you just turn on the light, and you'll find very interesting species right at your backyard. You would not see them otherwise, but if you turn on the light, you might see some of them coming. And so yes, so that's National Moth Week for you, and just go out and look for moths and photograph them, and you upload them on citizen science portals, and you are a part of like you are providing data for their documentation, for their distribution. So all this data is publicly available in all the portals. So you are a citizen scientist. So that way, so it's a fun 1 week. I every year I have a lot of fun during this week, and I keep that 1 week for myself to observe moths and talking to people about moths and inspiring them to go out and just see moths. So yeah, I hope all of you will participate as well this year.
Yeah, definitely. Those who are listening, they can participate for sure. And coming to your actually PhD journey, WII actually, whenever the name comes, Wildlife Institute of India, we imagine dolphin, bigger mammals in the Himalayas and all. How you were like able to find your niche and studying an insect there?
Yes. Yeah, that's a very good question. Nobody has asked me this. Thank you for asking me this question. Yeah, so yes, not many people study insects in WII, but there are very few that I know who are extremely talented people who work on insects in WII. So yes, it was a hard time for me also. Like I would see 50 people working on tigers, but none of them were interested in insects. So, but
Yeah.
again, there is a niche. I find an opportunity. So I saw this as an opportunity to do something. Okay, there is no competition here. Just go out and
Mhm.
do your study. Nobody's going to maybe understand your study also. They'll not ask questions. So it was so my professor was the only person who was interested in who was working on insects. So there was a now also there is an entomologist, and there are a lot of work going on insects, especially bees and fireflies. There are very interesting projects going on in WII. There are people who study insects in WII as well. But I did a part of my PhD in Germany as well. So I had a scholarship to spend some time in Germany. So I was there for 1.5 years. So it was so my supervisor was one of my supervisors also from Germany. So
Okay.
so yeah, so WI is an interesting place. You can even within the tigers you can find your insects there. So
True. And how you avail this fellowship? DARD, as far as I can remember,
yes,
it was right.
yes. So
And
yes,
what
so
is the
it's called
sandwich?
yes, sandwich program. So they have a full PhD program as well, where you can do your study entirely in Germany for 3 years, or you can be registered in one of the universities here. Uh, like what I did was I finished my field work and then I applied for this scholarship, which let me do the lab work in and analysis in Germany. So that's called the sandwich program. It's like it's a bi-nationally supervised sandwich program. It's a huge name. So basically, you have supervisors from both the countries who are part of your PhD, and you work in both the places. So that is a very convenient option, I would say, for many of you who have started your field work, and there are not many resources to do a lot of insect work in some of the universities here, which was also my case in WI. I was not finding the resources to do proper taxonomy that I wanted to do. So this is a good option for people like that to contact any of the labs abroad who are experts in this and apply for this scholarship and spend some time in the lab abroad and complete your uh, taxonomic part. And yeah, so that really helped
And
with my study.
and after your doctoral studies, you went to ISC,
Yes.
their ecological. So how you got that connection after your PhD to getting here in Bangalore?
Yes, so I mean I already had this idea of working with bats and moths long back. It was I wanted to do it for my PhD as well, but I understood that I don't know moths well even to understand these interactions. So right after my PhD, I wrote to Professor Rohini Balakrishnan, who was my mentor during the postdoc, and I knew that they are studying this bat moth system for a long time in the Western Ghats, but they were looking into other orders of insects like the Orthoptera like crickets and katydids. There was nobody studying moths there, so I contacted her that I know of the system that your lab is studying, and I want to be a part of that. Where I, as a moth biologist, I want to look into the moth praise as well. So she was very
Mhm.
welcoming, and she said, like, please. to come. This bat, that it eats moths as well, but we don't have anyone to look into the moth prey because we don't have anyone who knows moths. So she was she readily agreed to this idea. And then I wrote up a scholarship, and then I continued my postdoc there for 3 years at IIC.
And now you are continuing your research with the
Yes,
Finnish.
yes, yes. So I finished my IIC part in 2023 December, and so I was a visiting researcher at the Finnish Museum of Natural History. That was a collaboration that I had during my PhD, and there are some interesting projects that we wanted to collaborate on. My mentor in Finland, and he invited me that I can come and spend some time there, and we can figure out the collaborative projects. So I went there in 2023 while I was still working at IIC. I went there and spent some time, and then he said that after you finish your IIC project, you can be a part of this part of our group for some time to complete the collaborative project. So these are mostly, like, I don't have to actively go out in the field and do. I have to do the analysis and the writing up part, and there are people there who are sending me data. We are discussing, we are meeting. So that's a more of a collaborative work which is going on currently, and so they agreed to let me do it from India as well. So that's what I'm doing currently. Yeah.
So we made a full circle, and and just overall, if I would like to ask, how's your experience been throughout your moth research till now? The best part
Oh,
and the most difficult part.
yes. Best part is undoubtedly when um, when people see a moth and they think of me and they send it to me and ask me to identify it. I think that's quite rewarding because I have reached out to at least some people who as a credible think of me as a credible person to ask this question. So that I think is a that makes me really happy. I want to interact with people. So that and of course seeing new moth species. I mean, I can't spend my entire life seeing every species in India. There are around 12,000 estimated species in India. So every time I see a new moth species, I become a kid and I'm very excited. So that's something that makes me very happy. And yes, and I think that all of these things motivate me to keep doing what I do, and I enjoy every bit of it. But as in academia, being in academia is a challenge. You have to write scientific papers, you have to publish, you have to write up for grants, you have to get yourself employed, you have to have a job. So all those parts are a challenge, everyday challenge. Like you have to sustain yourself while you're in love with moths. So that's the challenging part, and I grapple with the thought every day, literally every day, whether I should continue in academia or not. But this is a rewarding field, but efforts are a lot. uh, so I would say that's the challenge that I feel, that it kind of pulls you down, that you have to sit and analyze, write scientific papers, write up grants. So that's the challenge, I think.
Okay. Yeah, sounds like most of the academic person or those who are
Yes,
in research. I have heard.
exactly.
It's very much in parallel line
Yes,
with them. Um,
yeah.
and I think we are coming to the towards the end of this session,
Mhm.
and I would like to ask some take-home messages. What you would like to give? Because I do personally get messages. Bhaiya, whether should I go for PhD? Whether I should do research? How much awarding it is, rewarding it is, and what's the monetary wise, how much stable it is? Whether shall I continue or not? So that was the whole reason to start this page, to interact with the those who have been through this process and what they think of it. And so
Yes.
now, what's your take-home message to those who are just there on the gate?
Ah. I think don't do a PhD just for the sake of it, is what I always feel. If you are really interested in understanding something. If you really want to pursue academia, you go for a PhD, and see, um, it is rewarding, but the rewards come slowly. I would say, like, you have to, monetary wise, yes, it is not a stable job as a IT company. So it is not, it does not give you that much of money as more stable jobs. But there are other joys. Like, if you love what you are doing, I mean, if you love, like, I would talk about ecology field only. I won't venture out into other fields of biology or other fields of PhD. In my field, I think uh, there is excitement in doing the kind of work that I do, but yeah, I mean, there is stability part is always debatable, I would say. I mean, you would agree with me. You know as much
Yeah,
as I do. Yeah, that it's just not a stable field. But I mean, I don't want to give false hopes to anybody that okay, this is like a la la land and blah blah. It's not. So you have to do, you have to write up grants, you have to make yourself sustain, you have to sustain yourself, you have to, mm, like, get scholarships, you have to write paper. That's the worst part, like writing scientific papers, because I hate scientific writing personally. If you ask me to write a popular article, I'll be more happy to do that. But yes, so take home message is that if it really excites you, go ahead and do it. Nothing is, what do you say? If you earn a lot, but you're not really excited about the work you're doing, I don't see a point in it. That's a personal way of looking at the world, but not everybody sees the world the same. So, so yeah, so that I don't know if I'm giving a good message or not, but that's what I have to say.
yeah, that's quite very much of a realistic
Yeah,
take-home message, I would say, being in the field.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, because
so
I'm
thank you so
still
much.
figuring it out. I mean, though I'm a guest in your uh, like this live session, I don't have it figured out already. I'm still figuring it out. I'm still like, what do you say? I'm still making my path. So yes, it is a never-ending process. It goes on and on.
Yeah, it's a lifelong process, I think, till the time we are in academia.
Yes.
So I think you have got a question or something. I live in a city, glad, and
Live in
if
a
I
city
want to,
plan and I require motion. How do I get started? You just turn on the light. I'm sure you have a light on your pod. If you have like a white wall, like a not like a light colored wall, which you can, like, not with a lot of like, you just make it little bit empty and just turn on a light. If you, you can get those cheap UV lights as well, which you get on Amazon, and like very easily on Amazon. You put them out on a white background, and you'll see some moths coming there. And especially if it is raining outside, it's the best time. If it is raining outside, just, and if you have an empty wall where it's not getting wet, and you can put out a light, just put it out. You'll see moths coming there and resting around the light. So that's the easiest way to do.
yeah. So now we know how to get moths in our home.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Pritha. That was such an interesting and insightful. And hearing someone who has done research in moth. So here we are with our moth biologist. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, your experience, those moments you had during your research. So again, thank you to be here.
Thank you for having me, Shivam. I mean, you are a very enthusiastic person, and I am loving that you are doing this on your own. And sorry that I could not make it earlier. There was a lot of trouble with the dates, but yes, I'm very happy to be here. And good luck with what you do, your research. I know that uh, you are also studying your taxonomist, and keep at it. You are doing good, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you. And thank you everyone who joined in and hope to see you in the next session. Have a good day.
Bye
Pritha, thank you
bye.
so much again for joining.
Bye.